Sometimes when you're listening to someone speak with such certainty, it's almost as if their words flow so smoothly, and yet you might start to feel a sense of discomfort, a quiet, subtle whisper inside, asking questions like, but how do they know? Isn't it fascinating how a small seed of curiosity can begin to grow in the most unexpected ways? And as you begin to explore this question in your mind, you might realize when someone insists they're the best, when they keep repeating it, it almost feels like they're trying to convince themselves, doesn't it? And isn't it true? The best of the best, they don't need to repeat it. They don't need to say it over and over, because their actions, their results, their presence speaks for itself. Just pause for a moment and consider that. Let your mind play with the idea. The idea, if someone is truly confident in their approach, they won't need to reinforce it constantly. But what happens when there's doubt? What happens when there's even just a crack of uncertainty? It's almost as if the slightest challenge to their method, the smallest question, can make them feel, a little threatened. And if you've ever seen someone respond with an emotional outburst, you'll notice how quickly their defences arise. Isn't that interesting? Almost as if the reaction is more telling than the actual content of their argument. Now imagine something fascinating. You ask them, just in the gentlest way, how do you know your method works? You see, asking that simple question, it's like sending a gentle ripple into the calm waters of their certainty. You don't need to rush, you don't need to push, just wait and let them answer. And notice how, sometimes, their answers, they won't be based on clear evidence at all, but on their emotion, their assumptions, their beliefs, which, by the way, are just beliefs. And here's something to think about. Every belief, yes, every belief has a structure. And sometimes that structure, it isn't as solid as it might first appear. In fact, the more you listen, the more you'll start to notice the little cracks, the little inconsistencies, the distortions, the generalizations, the deletions. And once you start seeing those, it's almost as if your mind starts to naturally begin to find the gaps. Have you ever noticed how sometimes, when you begin to see these distortions clearly, the whole belief system starts to shift, almost like a house of cards? Once one piece wobbles, the rest begins to follow. Isn't it true? It only takes one exception to the rule for someone's belief to feel fragile, like a delicate web unraveling. And yet, you're in control of your thoughts, your awareness, your perception. Isn't it interesting how your mind can pick up on the smallest details, the smallest shift? You might even begin to wonder if those so-called rules that were once so firmly held, they might just be a little more flexible than they appear. Now imagine something else. What if you're able to apply this questioning to your own beliefs? Just imagine what it'd be like to step back and gently examine your own certainty. How did it feel to ask, how do I know? And hear yourself answering with clarity and without fear. Because you know, when you ask the right questions, the answers can be liberating. It's almost as though the mere act of questioning, it opens the door to new possibilities, new ways of thinking, new understandings. And what if, just what if, there's a belief you've held on to for so long that's no longer serving you? And with just one simple question, one small shift in perception, everything could start to look different. Isn't that fascinating? How a shift in your internal world, it could begin to change the external one. So what will you do now with this knowledge? What would it be like to question, just gently, with no pressure, but with curiosity? How you know what you know? What if you allowed yourself to entertain the idea that maybe, just maybe, the strongest belief, it isn't the one that's unshakable, but the one that evolves, that adapts, that grows with you? Feel that shift within yourself as you become aware of your own power to discern, to question, to evolve. As you notice how easily you can spot distortion, generalization and deletions in others, you'll realize you've unlocked a new level of awareness, a new way of thinking, one that's free from self-delusion and open to truth. Now take a moment and breathe as you allow yourself to deepen, knowing every time you ask that simple question, how do I know? You're moving closer to an empowered, more authentic version of yourself. And with that, the possibilities, they're endless.